Da 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 dee, da 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 dee, da 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 dee.
अगं हे काय आहे आपला इंट्रो आहे ना आपल्याकडे वाय डू यू नीड 21st सेंचुरी फॉक्स स्टुडिओज
It's nice. It's iconic. It's good.
Yes, but that aside, we have to prepare for our Purvakhyan episode. So we need to get some popcorn, a little bit of Coca-Cola, and put on that AC over there. We are going to be taking a trip through the past of...
Ooh, you're getting your drama on. All that suspense. Nice, nice.
I mean, you're the one that built the suspense with that line, but let's get
Thank
into
you.
it. Yeah, let's get into it. Let's see the Purvakhyan of movies and TV shows.
Well, today we'll be talking about the trends observable in the past of TV shows and movies as we know them today. Mug, obviously, we have to start with the birth of film itself. The birth of the moving picture could only be possible with the invention of a device that was able to show these moving pictures to the audience. The first movie, as we all know, was an amalgamation of flashed pictures taken every second of the action. Because, there was no invention to capture videos, they could only capture photos and display them for every second so that they would appear to be a moving picture. That the capturing thing they had figured out. But how exactly would they show this movie to an audience? That was the big question. The Edison Company, Thomas Alva Edison, in 1897 was able to successfully demonstrate a prototype of something they called a kinetoscope. Now, this thing was invented by Edison's British employee, William Kennedy Laurie Dixon. The invention was so that a single person, an individual, could view the film, which was initially just 20 seconds in length, through a mechanism in a continuous loop. They could view it through an eyepiece which was located at the machine at the film gate. That's what they called it. So once they saw that film through the eyepiece, the mechanism would play it in a continuous loop and they were able to see it as a film. These kinetoscopes were available in something called kinetoscope parlors that offered a few choices of film. They first opened in New York on April 1894 and then in London in October 1894. Edison had coined this term kinetoscope from the Greek word for movement, as in watcher. You get the reference. The cinema that we know of hadn't come yet, had it? It was just that single person watching it. There was no theater, audience, cinema thing going on at that moment.
Nope, not yet. Just the single person who was able to see a single film.
Alright then, what is a cinema? According to me, it's the movie theaters and audience and stuff. But according to dictionary, it is the projection of moving photographic pictures on a screen for a paying audience. Okay, the paying part was left by me, I see. So the first cinema was a cinematograph show, which was in the basement of the Grand Cafe in Paris. This first cinema was shown on 28th December 1895 by the Lumiere brothers. They've been regarded as the inventors of cinema. Compared with other attempts at producing a movie camera, the cinematograph was remarkably compact, and unlike Edison kinetograph, which Arya just explained, it did not rely on electric power, which few premises had at that time. And so it was quite expensive. The cinematograph could be taken anywhere, rather, either to shoot film or to use as a projector. All that was required was a magic lantern, lamp house with a gas or limelight illuminant. The projection of moving photographic pictures on a screen for a paying audience, a cinema, However, they were probably not the first to do this, those Lumiere brothers. The Latham brothers in New York were screening boxing films to paying audiences from 20th May 1895, months before the Lumiere brothers, using their idoloscope projector.
That's when the craze for the moving movie began.
Guys, we are getting responses that you're enjoying this podcast, this new kind of approach to it, with the dogs choosing different series topics each month. So please do like, share, and subscribe to see more of such things, so we know that you guys really enjoy it and we can do much, much better in terms of our performance.
It started with the era dubbed the Pioneer Era, the beginner for all movie periods. It was from 1895 to 1910. These filmmakers during this era had zero experience and obviously incredibly simple gear, because it was just invented and it was just made into prototypes. They started testing different mediums for creating small film reels, just short movies that were maybe 5-minute to 10-minute long. These were not even focused on authorial novels or books or anything like that. That was just focused on recording news, documentaries, and some stage plays. The first purposeful film narration, as in narration during a film that has happened, some kind of voice, some kind of narration as we know, started appearing in the early 1900s with the release of George Millet's A Trip to the Moon in 1905. These 5-minute long short stories became very popular at that time.
Okay, well, the Pioneer era is very, very much similar to the era at the moment, the Instagram, TikTok, Reel era, the short clips, the film reels. The only thing is that this is on social media, whereas in 1910s, there were definitely not any internet or social media. Well, the next era, 1911 to 1926, the silent era. With American filmmakers starting their organized production, silent movies became very popular in both US and Europe. Films started being longer, slightly edited, they used minimal sound effects and musical tracks, though there was no dialogue yet, and there was emphasis on professional-made narrative drama, romances, and comedies. One of the largest stars from this period of film industry was the phenomenal Charlie Chaplin. This era was parallel in India, with its first movie being a silent one, the Marathi movie Shri Pundalik in 1912 by Dada Saheb Torne, followed by the 1913 famously known silent movie Raja Harishchandra by Dada Saheb Phalke.
We then move on to the era of talkies and the rise of the very popular Hollywood studios. This era started off in the 1927 and then moved on to the 1940s. 1927 was a phenomenal year for Hollywood when it reinvented itself, it redesigned itself like a makeover, and there was the release of the very acclaimed and popularly known Warner Bros. They were known to have bold experimentation, like with their film The Jazz Singer, which was the first feature-length sound movie, and it was created and promoted in the United States. This great change enabled theaters to grow, new movie genres to be made, such as horror and monster movies. There were 5 big Hollywood studios that reigned supreme during this time, and in Europe and India, there were new large markets that were being filled by talented filmmakers. However, this era came to an abrupt end, and the World War II that started in the 1940s changed everything.
1941 to 1954. The World War II changed everything, and this caused the restructuring of Hollywood and the age of the golden era of film. As the Great Depression of the 1930s enabled the arrival of new audiences and new filmmakers,
World War II brought new kinds of movies to the table. With better production values and available film technology, audiences started enjoying comedies, slapstick films, gangster films, with even few science fiction offerings. Stars like Abbott and Costello, Humphrey Bogart, Audrey Hepburn, Fred Astaire, and others defined the era. During this period, Indian cinema changed significantly and became even more popular and innovative. The Bollywood film industry saw immense growth with creative directions and genres entering the market, and acclaimed talents in both music and acting, such as Lata Mangeshkar, Kishore Kumar, Devanand, and Madhubala.
Time for some change.
Changes.
The 1955 era began. This era stretched up till 1970s, and there was a huge amount of spread in television during this era. Spreading of television and its organized production capabilities enabled audiences to have more choice, forcing cinemas to fight against television with film productions that clearly outclassed anything that could be seen on the home screen. So this was the war between television and cinema.
This is also the time when movies started to get grander, so they could be seen on a bigger screen.
Just like the grandness of the movies increased, they also explored even more deeply into the societal affairs. That is why the genres became even more mature, and foreign films started to appear in US cinemas. Distribution rights, thus, were in a flux. Toward the end of this era, Hollywood explored a lot of mature themes to cater to its audiences, to provide something new for its audiences. This led to the formation of the Motion Picture Association.
Now comes the very, very fashionable era, 1977 to the late 1990s. Dawn of the modern film industry and appearance of blockbusters, rapid advances in films, production techniques, and the early age of computer-generated special effects revolutionized Hollywood, which can best be seen with the 1977 release of Star Wars. Anyone hasn't heard of Star Wars? Go check that out, please. Like, it's a self-defined topic. This first true blockbuster showed Hollywood how to create true worldwide media events that could earn tremendous amounts of money. Movie storylines and plot complexity took a hit somewhat, but these movies still remained entertaining. 1970s was also a grand era for the Bollywood industry. The industry saw its greatest changes, with avid westernization iconic films like Sholay, the first rendition of Dawn, as well as stage-setting songs like Chura liya hai tumne jo dil ko and Oh mere dil ke chain.
Wow. Wow.
I tried.
She really enjoyed doing this. So, after all of this jingling, let's move on to the last era, that is the current era of movies. The new millennium, our modern film industry. Today, the films created have unbound boundaries that stretch over every culture and geography that people inhabit. Experimentations with themes, genres, political issues, social issues have become direct and heavily present in today's films. The arrival of new platforms for viewing has brought a new variable to the traditional cinemas that were used for generations. The online platforms that we use now, like Netflix, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, there are so many. There are innumerable online platforms. These are like the new war, how there was a war between TV and cinemas. It's like a war between online platforms and traditional cinemas.
Definitely. We have more series, popular series, than movies at this point. And to be honest, I think one of the factors that series are more
viewed now, more popular now, is because you can watch them on demand, and there's so much possibility to explore in these series. It keeps updating itself over a long period of time, whereas movies have a 4-hour period at max to really get the entire story wrapped neatly and tightly. And so I think there is that particular advantage for these series, Netflix, the thing, and all of that. Okay.
However, what I feel is that TV shows, series like we're talking about, and movies, they quite go hand in hand. So sometimes when TV shows try to incorporate movies into them, they're quite successful, and it's also vice versa. Movies also try and adapt TV shows into movies. So sometimes it works. Movies have the advantage of summarizing the entirety of whatever happens in 2 or 3 seasons in a TV series into just a 3-hour long film. Whereas TV shows are not able, they drag out the entire storyline. So that also gets a little boring.
So much so that it might lose the essence of the entire plot, to be honest. But
so it depends on plot to plot and how exactly the directors take it forward.
the best time to stop a TV show is perfectly portrayed by The Good Place. It just wraps it very neatly, the entire plot. No point of time do I feel bored watching it. No point of time I feel that it's very dragged. I enjoyed watching all 4 seasons of it.
So again, it depends from individual to individual as well. Some people don't really like The Good Place because of other aspects, not exactly the plot line, but other aspects. Well, here in these 17 minutes, we have discussed a lot about the trends of movies. And we will be ending the episode here today on this note of the rivalry between movies and TV shows. And we will discuss the TV shows in the next episode. That will be the trends of TV shows. Bye everybody. Hope you enjoyed listening to today's episode of Purvakhyan, the trends in movies. Thank you for listening to this podcast, and please tune in for our next podcast on TV shows. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to this channel. Bye bye. See you guys next time.